Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. Come dive deep in some dungeons with me in the War Within an expansion, and don't forget to subscribe. Hey guys, welcome back to week 11 of the 0 to 3K series. This week the new cartel pieces have come out so we can try and get some better pieces of gear, especially some of those juicy raid trinkets. Would be very nice to be able to get this week. We're looking for quantity rather than quality keys, but let's see how this week went, and thank you for the comments on this new format of my videos. So let's see what we got into this week. Starting off with the Demonology Warlock this week, our first key was a plus 11 Dark Flame Cleft. We're here just after the first boss with a pretty standard pull with smallies from the middle of the room and the two big wax boys. Nothing too crazy, but the wax boy AoEs can catch you out if you're not paying attention. And looky there, the DK gets bonked by a smallie, and then big boy's AoE goes out, ripped to DK. But other than melee liking to stand in circles, this pull went pretty smooth. Then we jump up to the minecart area. So as you can see, the healer and the tank are trying the MDI pull by running ahead, but I think the druid tank loses aggro here, and the healer just gets his booty clapped. Luckily, the druid realizes this and runs to the cart so we can regroup and keep this pull alive. So after this pretty silly death, this key was actually a pretty easy one as we plus 2 this plus 11 Dark Flame Cleft. With only 2 deaths on the board, a good way to start this week, I would say. Next key up was a plus 11 Operation Floodgate. We're here at Big Mama with everyone up and pumping. This group has been pretty solid so far, so we're pumping it pretty hard, and then the Silence ability comes out, and the Elemental Shaman runs the tank over with it and takes it to the face. Luckily, this was the only hiccup here for one of the hardest bosses in the dungeon, so we got through it. Then we get to the double Shredder pull right before a second boss, which also has some casters from the back here. So what happens here is a DPS Demon Hunter does Demon Hunter things and decides, hey, the tank is pulled. I'm about to do max DPS. And then pulls aggro and then just gets clipped. He releases right away. So when the Demon Hunter ends up getting back to us, we start really melting this group. But what is that? The Demon Hunter drags some of the Goblin Divers that drop those bombs. Because of this, now we do bleed some more deaths out of here because of bombs and the Harpoon Dot. DPS, give the tank 2 GCDs, please. You'll do less damage dead than you will waiting one more second. Off to the second boss. This boss is going pretty well. Everyone destroying all the bombs. I got this quad bomb dispel. Oh yeah. But here, I think the shaman forgets he can move out of the charge because the boss just runs him over and just one-shots him. Makes sense what happened with Big Mama now too. I don't know if he knows you can move afterwards, but again, just a small hiccup on these bosses. No big deals. Now to Swamp Face. This is the most RNG crap I've ever seen, but luckily I'm a lock. I get trapped with my partner in this trifecta of waves. I just pop my damage reductions and just eat it, but the shaman ends up eating dirt because of it. Whoops. At the end of the fight here, the healer goes down. I was trying to see what happened to him, but apparently he was hiding right behind my UI marker for my instant cast here. He ends up rotting down to like 10%, and then he just takes a wave to the face. We have to wait for the battle res because it's on cooldown, but we get through it, res up the healer, and end up finishing off strong. Then we get to the pull just after Bubbles with 2 casters and a bunch of random mobs. We end up missing a bunch of kicks here and just bleed out 3 more deaths randomly. Luckily, we had some pretty good DPS in this key. We still were able to time it even with 10 deaths. Now we get into a plus 11 rookery. Here on the second pull of the dungeon with some huge damage here. The mage ends up getting the lightning dot and at the same time as the birds does the AoE and ends up rotting down pretty quickly, and then tragedy strikes. Spoiler alert. This is what I was talking about with the internet problems. So don't know what happens here. I just end up dead. Probably a circle or something. I don't know. I just know I died. And then a similar pull, a couple pulls down the line, the same thing happens to the mage. Gets the dot with no damage reduction and the AoE starts pulsing. Bye-bye, Mr. Mage. And during the first boss, the infamous lag strikes again. Man, I really feel like I'm wasting these people's time. But we kill the boss and we press on. Then one of the most press W type of deaths I've ever seen, when the shaman just gets down below. He just walks right into the pull that mostly everyone skips and just gets sent to the Shadow Realm. Okay. Now time for the big lust pull before the second boss. Let's try and get on top of the meters. Wait a second, am I lagging again? Not now. Please, I want to pump. Well, there's a DC. Oh god. Log back in as fast as you can. And looky there, didn't even die. The carrier's real, boys. And when you imagine, again, our last death of the dungeon was me lagging into some swirls again. Yippee! With no help from me at all, we timed this plus 11 rookery. This next 48 hours was a lot of this, and why my content got delayed this week. Gotta love Spectrum. But that's all the lock keys we got done this week, and time to move on to some higher keys while on the Resto Shaman. And let's see if the lag affected me as much on this character as it did my lock. Okay, starting off this week with a plus 12 Operation Workshop. As you can see here, got through the 4-pack pull, 0 deaths, now pumping away on the boss. Everything is going really smoothly. You might say too smoothly. And then boop, right into mine. Alright, there we go. That's the crap I love right there. Well, stand up real quick and finish off the boss. Now we're here after the tar pit section. Time to pull some doggos. Then the tank does something that'll pucker any healer's buttholes right away. Pulls 5 doggos in a pug. This should be fun. See how this would be fine if we had cooldowns, but all I have is Mana Tide. No Spirit Link, nothing else, so we bleed out 4 deaths here. I did what I could with what I had, but we press forward. Then we got to the Cujo boss. It's going great. So great that we can beat the Vent Flames cast. And 2 of us didn't survive, but we did kill the boss. Got through the next couple of pulls without any more incidents and got through the maze quickly. Now with the pull right before the boss, the mage was too trusting and got into the dome as the dreaded squirrel was going to go blow him up. And there it goes. Bye-bye, Mr. Dome, and bye-bye, Mr. Mage. See ya. Then on the boss, we're here about to kill this gun down as the Feral is just getting gunned down by this thing. Ends up surviving to get his kitty buns toasted by the flame line. Bad luck for our kitty player. Then we get into a pull on the ramp and bleed out 2 deaths here because this dot really hurts without a dome. I'm a trash healer apparently. But we make it to the last boss with time to spare somehow, and as we were doing Omega Buster, no further deaths until this Magneto arm that just wipes the mage off this plane of existence. But we have a battle res and finish this key off with a +1 and this +10 Operation Mechagon. We talked about this last week about this satisfying pull in Cedar Brew Meadery, so here it is on this +11 Cedar Brew Meadery. So the pull was going pretty well overall. We were slowly pulling more into the pull once they got pretty low, and this is where we started bleeding out deaths. I got a few melees from the non-elites, but I focused on myself, and we lost the Pally and the Mage here. And I went down here. I definitely should have used Spirit Link to save all 3 of us, but I'm special. But after that huge pull, the rest of the dungeon went pretty well until we got to this pull in the IPA room. Then it looks like the Pally body pulls somehow. The mage gets aggro of them, which then the mage goes from 100 to 50 to 0 in less than 1 second. But we finish up the pull, and then we also finish up the dungeon with a +2 in this +11 Cedar Brew Meadery with 4 deaths on the board. Pretty easy, actually. So now it's time for the +11 Motherload. We are here just after the first boss, and tanks, I have a question. Why do you LOS here? With these, unless you're pulling trash into the boss, there's no reason for you to LOS here. There's enough room up by the extractor just to go fight them up there. By pulling them back here, you get 1 extra extraction cast, which is just a ton of AoE damage that you don't need to take. Let alone you probably get more shocks put out on you from these casters. Tanks, unless you're pulling trash into the boss, just pull it where it's at. Just go run up there. They stack pretty easily. It's not like you need slappy hands or chains or anything to get them all stacked up. Just a kick here or there and everything stacks up pretty easily. Yeah, there's no real reason to LOS here unless you're pulling into the boss while you are on the boss. Other than that, guys, that's why PSA for this. We just bleed out of death because we got an extra extraction and we are just taking way too much damage. Other than that, I'm still a trash healer. But nonetheless. Then we got to here right after the extractor pulls where you pull the elementals. And somehow the tank or someone, it's hard to tell here, pulls the Taskmaster pack. With both these packs pulled and how many kicks and how much damage is going out, I was expecting to lose a lot more here. But we actually only lost 2 deaths, kept the pull alive. So I'm really surprised we didn't wipe here. So I don't know if that's good on me or what, but we did pretty good here. Now with the second boss down, we are pulling trash down here in the little junkyard area. And I think the mage forgets yellow circles are bad because we move out of ours. And last time we see the mage, which is standing in a circle, he ends up just randomly dying off of our screen. So I could only imagine he didn't move and he just stayed standing in that circle. Don't know for sure, just a theory. So after those 4 deaths, we timed this plus 12 mother load. Not too shabby for being, I would say, a pretty novice healer. We were talking about cool first pulls, so now we're here in the plus 12 Priory of the Sacred Flame. On this first huge pull, Double Knights, not always a good choice, but it is a choice, that is for sure. But with all the CC we have, we started slamming through it pretty nicely. But then I even stepped into a trap and survived it. It was a gnarly dot, but we still end up surviving it. But then ends up getting a bunch of pot shots onto me, and then the knight does his rally cry, which ends up wiping me out. But we only pulled this 1 death off of this big pull with double knights. It's not too bad. Then on the second major mini-boss, the warrior does warrior things and charges in and instantly gets clapped as everything melees him. Zug zug, boys. Gotta love it. But we got through the first boss and all the trash in the second boss's room. And of course, it's not a Priory of the Sacred Flame unless I lose some deaths on the second boss. So this time, similar to last week, end up getting the shields going out. We're sitting all at 50%. And then the DK decides to soak multiple orbs with AMS off and just KOs him and the warrior. And then last couple seconds of the boss, I rot down as well. So 3 deaths on a boss. Ugh, I hate this place. Then we get onto Sir Braunpike. And it looks like the warrior goes offline here and just comes out dead. At least from what my UI says. So I don't know what happened here, but it is a hard part of this dungeon, but something DC or KO'd him. And then we need a little bit more trash, so we pull another pack right behind us. And I get Purification Beam and don't pop any DRs again and die to this. Even with those 7 deaths, we +1 this plus 12 Priory of the Sacred Flame. Not too shabby, but I agree with the high-end community. This key is probably the hardest for sure. Oof, that's a key. Speaking of high-end people, it's time for the Brewboy running them big boy keys. Let's see how this week went for us. You can say it went, and we are still alive, and we got through it. Let me show you what I mean. So let's take a stab at this plus 13 Theater of Pain. Not the highest key we've tried to do, but Theater Pain is kind of known for being a little bit harder key, especially because it's just a long key in general. To start, we had to pull it in 2 pulls because we don't have a reliable way to sneak by the first 3 mobs. So we go with 2 pulls without a hitch. Nothing really changes here until the very end of the boss fight. Here, it seems like the healer just switched into passive healing completely, because this hunter stays at like 45% for the whole cast of this AoE that ends up wiping him out. But needless to say, so then we start working our way to the Challenger wing with the first pull with the mini-boss to get some extra funnel going. I taunt the mob to me, and before I can get a global onto it, the hunter takes aggro and gets clapped. Yeah, that is possibly my fault, but also, why is a range out in front of us? Usually as a range, I just chill on the stairs until I do need to move like an AoE on the ground or something. But I'm not going to tell people how to play, but that could have been possibly my fault as far as not tagging it. But then we get to the second boss. No problems yet, but then the healer dies twice to the ground effects. This boss, which is funny because there's like 0 damage going out here. So what was he doing by not running? Well, 2 more here. We're still going pretty quickly, so let's see how it goes. So now into the construct wing, we get down to the bridge and bleed out 2 deaths from the frontal of the big boy himself. Just pooped all over everyone. But next pull is the big boy himself, Gorchop, with the 2 ads in front of his room, as well as pretty standard pull. And then wouldn't you know, 2 people get hit by the first chains. And one of them is the healer, and the other was the paladin, which just both go down, and the wipe is called. And out of frustration of just wiping, I start running back to get this pull going again, and in my anxiety, I go too early and pull the big boy we skipped earlier. And I think it's GG, so not going to time it, so I just dip. I think it was done before this last death, but that was a silly death for sure for me. But that's all the keys I did this week with my internet problems. Likely each character got at least 4 done this week. The monk just did 4 Dark Flame Clefs in a row. At a plus 10 level just so I can get my cartel pieces. But let's see how each character ended up this week. But first, let's get into these vaults. Big bucks, no whammies. Okay, starting off with the shaman, he got a one-handed weapon, a shield, and a trinket. The trinket is pretty trash. My current two-hander is a champion track weapon, so by taking this mythic track piece, I can get more item level out of this one-hander. Because I have this shield on a hero track, so really the one hand is the one piece that makes sense. After picking up a new weapon, we ended up this week with a Mythic Plus rating of 2807, less than 200 rating from that legend mark. It's going to be hard, but I think we can do it, even though we are not a great healer at all. But up next, let's look at what the lock got. So like the shaman, we got two trinkets here, both pretty good, but this helm would be replacing a veteran piece of gear, almost 40 item levels upgrade once I fully upgrade it. With the cartels pieces being a thing, I think the helm is the way to go now, for sure. Unlike the shaman being 200 away from legend, we are at a Mythic Plus rating of 2694 on the lock. It's going to be a minute until we get that legend mark. We really need some gear to get into these groups. It's harder to get in these higher keys with only 666 gear. Okay, so far we've had good luck on these two characters. What about the tanky boy? Let's see what we got. Oh, looky there. We got two pairs of pants. Oh, wait. It's actually one of the pieces I still have on the heroic track. So I think that's an easy choice. Nice, upgrades all around. But even though we got lucky with the gear, still not more rating since we didn't time anything higher this week. Sadly, still sitting at the 3016 rating. But hopefully one of these days we can get some 13s and 14s done in the pug world. Well, that's the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up down below. It helps out a ton. If there's anything I can do to make these videos more entertaining for you, leave a comment down below. And I hope you guys are subbing so you guys get notifications of every upload I do. Again, hope you enjoyed the video. Have a nice day. Peace.